In a moment, the American writer and satirist Joe Queenan takes on the services of a life coach to help with his change of career. This week, he wants to become a falconer.
Let's imagine the nightmare scenario. I've been downsized. I've been made redundant. What do I do? Who do I turn to? Luckily, one person I could talk to is sitting directly across from me in the studio. Suzy Greaves is a life coach. What can a life coach do for a person like me?
A life coach is somebody who helps you get from A to B by asking lots of questions. What did you love as a child? What do you enjoy doing now? I call it the la-la land vision, which is, let's just be stupid. Let's just pretend that you can do anything. Wave a wand and, this is not real. I'm not going to say, right, come on then, let's make you into a Hollywood actress. Although one of my clients did do that, go and be a Hollywood actress.
But at the same time, when people come to you, you have to, in some way, be realistic about what their options are.
I'm not realistic about anybody's options.
Really?
No, because I think it's not up to me to be realistic. People put a cap on their dreams, especially after you get a certain age. It's like, I'm too old now to do something different. I've got a guy at the moment who's becoming a magician.
What did the person do before?
Well, he's in IT. He's still in IT, but he wants to be a magician. The first step is to get a magician gig, and he's just done it. So we recently did a 21-day challenge where he came third in a magic competition. So you start small, you start to see, am I any good at magic?
Okay, so let's say somebody comes to you and says, I work in IT, now I want to be a magician. Mm-hmm. Does a few tricks, pathetic. The rabbit dies in the hat. What do you do then?
Not many people will come to me and say, I want to be a magician. This guy was really unusual to say, I know what I want to be. I want to be a magician. I'm like, oh, okay.
But why did he want to be a magician?
Because he's a performer. He's an entertainer. And he doesn't, in a job in IT when he's on computer day, he's not getting that opportunity to do that. So this is his opportunity to, ta-da! His time, to put his head above the parapet. And he's really good at tricks. He learned how to do it when he was a kid.
Right. So he's going back to something that he left behind.
Yes.
I think IT people can move into magic. I don't think it works the other way around. I wouldn't want any magicians running my computers ever. I think I've had some magicians working on my computers in the past, so that would be just out. Is the recession that we're currently undergoing, is it good for the business that you're in?
Probably. I think what I'm seeing is maybe before people had more leisure to think about, I'm thinking of making a career change. Whereas now I think people are getting very afraid that they're going to be made redundant. They're hating their jobs. They've got no work-life balance. They're stuck in the jobs that are doing the job of three, and the stress. And a lot of people are creating what I call these portfolio careers. They're doing lots of different things, a bit of screenwriting, magicians, or to become a Hollywood actress. Someone I'm working with at the moment who's going from being an architect to a handbag designer.
How old are these people that you're talking to? I mean, what is the kind of average, or let's say what's the mean age of the people that you're talking to?
I would say the average age is about 37.
Suzy's fantastic, and I really love what she does. On her website, she asks, somewhat dramatically, if you are ready to make the big leap.
Help! I'm buried alive! It's the bit where you believe, I really can change my life. It's the bit where you really think, I can really transform my life. It's the bit where you think, I can fly.
So the recession, in short, is your opportunity to rip up whatever you are doing now and try something else. Now, I'm quite happy being a writer, but should I want to change careers, I know just what I'd do.
And if there's a gap to go through, he'll go through it.
This is the flying grounds, where the bird handlers actually come out and fly the birds for a large group of children. The bird just flew right over my head. 3 years ago, in a program we never aired, I went to the Cotswold Falconry Center and met some of the people who worked there. Chris Stanley, in particular, seemed to be living the dream.
I started here 22nd of May 99, doing a week's work experience, and then I asked if I can come down to learn a bit more about the birds, and then it's only recently, last 2 or 3 years, I've got a full-time job from it. It's good fun.
So you see yourself doing this forever?
Hopefully.
Really?
Fingers crossed, hopefully, definitely. I've always been fascinated with birds of prey, and when we was younger, my dad kept budgerigars and lovebirds and cockatiels and things. Then one day, a sparrowhawk came into the garden, upset the budget a little bit, and I was so fascinated. That's where my interest had come from, really.
Is there any place in the world that you would like to go to, because the birding is so special?
Kazakhstan. They use female golden eagles to catch wolves. I think that would be incredible to see big, powerful birds and powerful wolves. So, good competition.
I'm Mike, and I'm the manager of the Cotswold Falconry Centre for my sins. Chief bottle up washer, everything really. We work as a team. We're very much a team here.
You're from Birmingham.
Yeah, I'm born and bred in Birmingham. Still travel down every day.
That's about 50 miles, right?
It is, yeah.
They don't get many falconers up in Birmingham, right?
You'd be very surprised. When I first got involved, I managed to find falconers I could walk to in Birmingham. Builders to accountants to all sorts. I'm just lucky that my sort of hobby and passion has now become my occupation.
When did it become your occupation?
About 8 years ago. I first visited the centre in 1991, and I also was blessed with being able to go hunting with Jeff, who owns the centre. It was during the course of a conversation during one hunting expedition when we were trying to warm up in the pub a bit after we'd been out for a few hours. He said that the following season he was going to need some help at the centre. By the time we left the pub, I was going to be his next employee following season.
When you came back from that talk that night, did you just come back and tell your wife, I'm going to be a falconer? I'm throwing it all up and I'm going to be a falconer.
Well, I wish it was that easy. No, I had to be a bit more surreptitious than that.
I'm tking of becoming a falconer. I mean, it's crossed my mind.
Yeah, it's more the case, poor Jeff, he's going to have to find somebody else, it'd be really nice if you could help out somewhere along the line. And it sort of snuck in that way, I guess.
Right.
But she was very understanding.
In the way that wives so often are.
She's been understanding for a long time now.
What did you do before that?
I'm a truck driver.
Now that is a big leap. Time to ask Suzy Greaves if she could help me. I'm going to tell you my dream, if I wasn't a journalist. I want to be a falconer. I want to work with birds of prey.
Okay, tell me about how you come up with that.
I think the word falconer is probably it. When you write a story, they say Joe Queenan writes for the New York Times, The Guardian, blah, blah, blah. It would be great if it said Joe Queenan writes for the New York Times, The Guardian, and is also a falconer. That would really, people would just step back a little from that one.
So it's about how you're perceived. You want to be perceived. What's so cool about being a falconer?
The birds of kings, the king has the bird armed there. You go out into the Mongolian desert and you go looking for the one mouse that's available in that part of Asia with those birds. And the birds are so cool. The birds are really great. I like this bird. It's ferocious looking.
Okay, so what about that role? What would you enjoy about it? So I'm hearing that you perceive it. So again, this is the classic thing. You're perceiving it to be something really, really cool. But, when you're...
It's odd. It's an odd thing to do, I think, also.
So what, you'd like to be seen as being different?
Somebody says, okay, I want to be a screenwriter. Big deal. Everybody does. Somebody wants to be a novelist. Who cares? Somebody wants to be... A magician's a good one. But most of the time, people have dreams that are fairly generic. I want to be a movie star. I want to be an actor. I want to be on Broadway. I want to do community theater. I want to do stand-up comedy. Join the club. Everybody does that. It's like saying I'd like to be a billionaire. I'd like to be Warren Buffett. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced yet, but it's not up for you to convince me. But it's that whole thing around what is it about the birds? What is it about the actual experience that makes your heart leap? That makes you go, oh, sometimes you can't explain it. But what is it about that makes you go, oh, wow?
I'm not actually just sort of blue skying about this. I did actually do a course. In fact, I did a course twice. And in fact, the person who taught me how to do this grew up in Pimlico.
I was brought up in central London, Pimlico, and there was a pet shop in Camden Town which used to sell lots of exotic birds of prey. And I used to go there and think, wow, I blew my mind seeing these magnificent creatures, the nobility of seeing an eagle just stand in the profile it does. Sort of got me. And when I left school when I was 15 with no qualifications. The birds of prey took over. And then one day somebody brought me a little chick they found, and I put it on the windowsill, started feeding it, and left the window open, and it started flying out and coming back and going out further and coming back. And I realised now what I'd done. I'd hacked it back to the wild without really knowing what I was doing. But during that period, I started trying to find books on falconry. Any books I could relate to how to feed this bird, how to look after it. Well, now my hobby's got completely out of hand.
I have a glove on my left arm, and I'm getting ready to feed the bird. Here we are. Ben. Ben. Oh, dropped it. He's down on the ground. He's
When he dropped it
completely
on the
uninterested.
floor, of course, you did a natural instinct to bend down to pick him up. And of course, we put your hand back in the right position again, because if you start bending down to pick, they think, oh, if I wait long enough, you'll pick me up. These birds are extremely intelligent and bone idle. Don't ever underestimate a bird of prey. They are extremely intelligent as well as being extremely lazy.
I never underestimate them. I've learned the hard way.
Well, it's almost like I'm seeing you as a kind of Indiana Jones of, the falconry
Well,
world.
that's very nice of you. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's that kind of idea that I think it's more you're fixated on how you're being perceived. So I would question whether it could be falconry or it could be being a magician. I could see you, doing some tricks, but you could also have a portfolio career, so it doesn't have to be falconry, but as long as we got your need met to be standing out for being different, you could be writer, falconry, magician.
See, that's what I like what you're doing, because you're already talking me down off the cliff. Because you're already saying, look, falconry, that's great, but maybe you should be thinking of some other things too, because I could become a stand-up falconer, because I have some experience as a comic. So we could stand-up falconer, do a few magic tricks.
I'm seeing it.
You see, it's working already.
You see.
No, it's great, because you're just talking to you. You just suggest things, and then you get there. Because I really hadn't thought about being a stand-up falconer before we had this conversation, but now it's
and think about how much money you could doing that. Be amazing, wouldn't it?
$20 a week, probably.
More, surely. 25.
How do I pay you? What are your rates like, or is it?
I work one-to-one with people, so I have a platinum rate. So if you wanted to hire me for 6 months, it would cost you £1,800. But for a lot of people, that's very expensive. So I found in the last year this amazing thing around. We do these 21-day challenges where we get everybody on almost like a group telephone call, and people are doing things like booking their first gig and singing and writing a book in 21 days. And what I've learned is that sometimes it's not great when you're on your own trying to do something. So actually, I'm probably doing myself out of business here. What I think is that when we can get, I call it like the Big League Tribe, we get together and we go, right, okay, this is the challenge, this is the journey you're going to go through. And everyone thinks that everybody else is really confident and they know what to do and they don't go through the ups and downs. But then because we're all journaling at the same time, everyone sees we're all terrified, we're all stumbling, we all think we can't do it. And when we all do it together and then we encourage it, it's lovely.
So how much does that cost?
That would cost £97 for 21 days.
Winston Churchill once said, when you're going through hell, keep going. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to say right now. But the great thing about all of these businesses that we've talked about is that these people are doing something that people didn't used to do in the British Isles. They're starting crazy businesses. That's what Americans do. And it's something that wouldn't have happened 30 years ago because there weren't any niches. There were just businesses that were adjacent to each other. But now there's all sorts of cracks in the economy where people can kind of insinuate themselves and start something that falls between the cracks and that will never be a humongously big business, but will be big enough so that it will enable people who don't want to work in an office for the rest of their life to do something different. And my hat is off to these people.
Wonderful Ways to Beat the Recession was presented by Joe Queenan, and the series was produced in Bristol by Miles Ward.